welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy. I hope you're doing really well wherever or whenever in the world that you are. Happy holidays, happy new year to whatever you guys are celebrating. Sending you all the very, very best. Today, we're gonna do a classic flip through of my 2024 reading journal. I had a pretty bumpy year with my journaling. There were times where I was really consistent and there were times where I just didn't have any time to create or even put things in. So I ended up doing a few months kind of like retroactively. And you know what? That's okay. That's the beauty of journaling. It can move at whatever pace that you are. But I love to watch these videos. And so 'tis the season to share these videos. So here we are. I hope you find some inspiration as we flip through my journal, as you're thinking about creating your own journals. And yeah, I think that's it for the intro. Let's get started. I tend to really like to do these cover pages with like the little, I don't know what you'd call it, like a little homage to the theming, I guess, of my opening spreads. So I tend to do like the color palette or like whatever doodle inspiration I have. And so this was kind of like my inspo page for my beginning sheets. I also tend to always start my reading journals with a reading list. That way I can keep track in chronological order the books that I read. I've played around with the structure of this page many years in a row now, but this is kind of the setup that I like the best, where I just have the title, the author, and then my general rating. I know some people like to include the date started or finished, the number of pages, any demographic information that they're interested in, but I like to keep it short and simple. This is my reading goals page where, I haven't filled it in quite some time. I actually have no idea where I am in any of these goals, really. And I also like to keep track of how many books I'm reading each month, kind of like the Goodreads goal list thing. This is my series tracker. I ended up really liking the layout of this. The one thing I realized kind of halfway through the year is that I couldn't tell which series had books that were currently out versus the series where I knew a release was eventually coming. So I ended up distinguishing that with these little black dots, meaning these are books in the series that have already been released. Meanwhile, the empty boxes are books that I anticipate or know will eventually come out, but like the book itself hasn't been published. Here's my books I own lists. I sort of ran out of room, so I think as I'm creating my 2025 reading journal, I may make this a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll do a full spread of each type. Maybe I'll just do a page. I'm not sure, but I needed more room, and so I found that I forgot to come back and update this throughout the year. This is my Broadshoot book club page. This is like my most consistent book club that I'm in. I'm in a few others, but we're not reading as consistently, and so I'm not keeping track in the same way. But I love at a glance to be able to see the books that we've read this past year. And we've read quite an eclectic mix. Our next book is Air by Saba Tahir, which is, I believe, the beginning of a new either YA or maybe adult fantasy series by that author, and so I'm very excited to get started with that. Here are a couple of my year-long challenges. I created my own bingo board, which I actually haven't filled in a little while, so I may be able to add a few more. And then on the left here, this is the Buzzwordathon that I've participated in when I've remembered, which I haven't every month, and that's okay. I'm gonna very quickly skip through the next page because it's my favorites. I think I'll probably do a 2024 favorites video early in the new year. I'm gonna take every single day in December to continue reading, so I don't want to make that video quite yet, but if you want a sneak peek at some of my favorites, you can of course pause the screen, but if not, I'm just gonna kind of quickly flip through. All right, now we're just getting into the monthly spreads. I generally speaking pick a pretty simple cover page theme. Some months I like to write out my TBR, my goals, my stats, whatever. Other months I just do a calendar. I've been using this calendar as a way to track the number of days that I've read. I've not been perfect at remembering, so some months I did my best guess based on like the quantity of books that I read or what I remember, but it was a fun way to start tracking if I'm reading every day. I participated in a readathon, and then this is kind of how I tried doing my reviews or like logging my reviews in my journal this year, is that because I was typing them up a lot, either on Goodreads or like in my own Google Doc, instead of rewriting them in my journal, I was just kind of creating a Word doc and printing them out, cutting them up and sticking them in here. But generally speaking, I have the book cover, my kind of train of thinking or like stream of conscious as I'm reading, thoughts and predictions and review. And then sometimes I'll have a second paragraph that kind of captures my more like formalized thoughts. I had a minute to digest the story, and usually this is what I leave on Goodreads. I always also include my rating, the author, and the title. All right, February, I went for a very simple stamp theme, quick and easy, kept track of my days read. Here was my TBR. I sometimes include in my one TBR list my reading roulette games, and sometimes I separate them. In February, I kept them the same. So a horror book from my favorite author, literary fiction with magic in the title, etc. I tried to fill some of the dead space by writing the title of the series, but it's so faint you can barely see it. I'm always so jealous of people who do these like very elaborate spreads with like character art and inspiration pictures. They're like vision boards for the books that they read. Maybe one day I'll do that, but I think I like to prioritize putting my reviews in these books over like making them too artsy, because one, that's not a strength of mine, and two, I just don't have the time every year. Some years I'm like really invested and consistent in my reading journal and like using it as a space for creativity and journaling, and then other years it's a little more bare bones where I'm just trying to capture all the information so that I can reflect back. You know, I love to look back on old journals, so it's nice to have. I definitely realized I have a couple like dead space pages because I was like getting ready to make my next month's spreads to record. And so I hate that I have some wasted pages throughout. I'm sure if I really took the time, I could go back and do something artistic or creative, but I don't know if I will. Here's March, a really simple tree doodle, same month. I participated in a couple readathons. This is one of my favorites. I tend to do a lot of yellow and or flower themes in April. My sister's birthday is in April and her favorite color is yellow, so I find that I tend to stick to that. None. Oh, in case you're wondering, I do it a little different each month, but generally speaking, I like to leave a box or circle or some kind of shape to indicate a book on my TBR. And then I either, if I successfully complete that book, like I read it, I fully color it in. If I need to migrate it, like I didn't finish it, or like for instance, this one I was like considering soft DNFing it, I use this symbol to indicate that I'm gonna try again a different month. But you'll see here sometimes I'll indicate an X, meaning like I didn't achieve that item or I didn't get to that book. So it varies a little month to month depending on the theme. May, I went for a butterfly doodle theme. Very sweet, very delicate. Super easy. Yeah, here was a month where I separated my reading roulette game from my TBR. It was a little easier for me to keep track of it that way sometimes. Got Gosh, I read a lot in May. There's June. Again, like a really simple ombre blue flower plant doodle. I really liked this color combination of the blues and the golds. I forgot I did a little collage here. I did an entirely collage inspired reading journal, gosh, maybe 22 in 2022. I can't remember. It's somewhere on my reading journal playlist if you like collage and want a little inspiration there. But I was feeling nostalgic and wanted to do another one here. I always think they turn out so nice. And you know, there's really no right or wrong way to collage. I got these stickers, I think from Redbubble, these whale stickers. Gosh, I got them years ago. And I finally found an excuse to use them. Here was August. I had kind of like a vintage groovy theme. This font was really fun and funky to do. Did Deck of TBR-a-thon. That was really fun. Even though I only got to 2 books, it was still a delight to participate in. I had a lot of fun with this. Like, I don't know if pattern's the right word, but like this little simple detail around the pages. September was one of those months where I completely forgot about my journal. I was in such a reading slump, so I think I might have only read these 2 books. So I sort of did this one later, like maybe in October or November. But you know what, again, it's simple, but I like the colors. Same for October. I forgot to do all the things for October. I was also still feeling really slumpy. I think I just read these 2 books. But I went back to that kind of collage style. Tempted to doodle a ghost. Here's November. Kind of a cozy browns. I had a sticker pack, if you couldn't tell. I was trying to use them all up, I guess. All right, and then we're at December. I haven't quite put my book entries in yet for December. I tend to do that right at the very end. And I always include at the very, very back kind of like a glossary that's in order. Gosh, I can't remember if I do it in alphabetical order or by author, but it's just another way for me to quickly look up books throughout my journal. I'll eventually go through and like number all of my pages. So just another way to help me look it up quickly. So there you go. 2024. You know, we had some months where we read a lot. We had some months where we read hardly at all. All is okay. All is beautiful. I hope you had fun kind of peeking into my journal. I hope you find some inspiration as you're creating yours. And yeah, I think that's all for today. I'm gonna be creating my beginning of year spreads eventually. I think this is gonna be my journal for 2025. I don't know if I'll post that on YouTube as I'm creating the pages or just kind of retroactively as I flip through. You'll have to stick around to find out. All right, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope everyone's doing well. Happy journaling, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye.